The chandelier above cast cold, accusing light across the long mahogany table as I settled into my usual seat, deliberately distant from my father's place at the head. The invitation to this emergency family meeting had arrived yesterday in my mother's flawless cursive, its tone wrapped in concern, but laced with the same old judgment. "Olivia, darling," my mother said, not even bothering to mask her disapproval as she fluffed the absurdly extravagant centerpiece. "Couldn't you have worn something more refined?" I looked down at my crisp white blouse and tailored black trousers. Simple, yes, but custom-made. Worth more than her entire jewelry drawer. Probably. Not that she'd ever know. They never asked what I actually did with that online thing I started 4 years ago. Then Victoria entered, all high heels and higher opinions, her Hermes swinging like a trophy. She was everything they ever wanted, CFO of Dad's investment empire, a carbon copy of his ambition. "You still running that cute little Etsy shop?" She smirked, sliding into her chair. "Selling macrame to suburban moms?" I took a calm sip of water. Her words had lost their sting years ago. If only she'd seen my morning meeting with Forbes' editorial board, or the photo shoot lined up for tomorrow. "Let's begin," my father said, his voice forged by decades as CEO of Harrison Financial. "We're here out of concern for Olivia's situation." "Ah, yes, my situation," their euphemism for abandoning the corporate ladder in favor of building something of my own. A decision that had earned me 4 years of subtle digs, concerned emails, and veiled career interventions. "The family name carries weight," my mother added, wringing her hands as if my choices had sullied their fine china. "And this phase of yours is starting to attract the wrong kind of attention." They still thought I worked out of my apartment, not in the penthouse office suite downtown, one with a skyline view and a team of 50. They didn't know about the deal on my desk, but they would soon. "We've been patient," Victoria chimed in, examining her manicured nails, "hoping you'd grow up and rejoin the family firm." My phone buzzed silently. "Marcus, everything's in place. Press embargo lifts at 6. 1 hour and 57 minutes to detonation." "The good news," Dad continued, clearly pleased with himself, "is we've arranged a position for you, junior analyst. You start Monday." I studied his face, still trying to control my life like I was one of his quarterly projections. He didn't know tomorrow's headlines would name me among the most powerful voices in financial tech. "Did you hear?" I said casually. "Forbes is releasing their most powerful women list today." Victoria waved dismissively. "Of course, I've been a contender for years." She hadn't, but reality rarely mattered to her ego. "I doubt it concerns your craft store," she added with a smirk. Before I could reply, my mother interjected, "More importantly, the country club meets tomorrow. People are beginning to ask what you actually do." I smiled, remembering how we'd quietly acquired the club's parent company last month, along with a dozen other elite properties they loved to name-drop. "What do you tell them?" I asked sweetly. "We keep things vague," she admitted. "It's easier than explaining you sell, whatever it is you sell." "Financial technology infrastructure," I replied. "Shopify templates," Victoria snorted. "Let's not dress it up." Another buzz. "Marcus, media's ready. Feature drops with the Forbes list." "Enough," Dad barked. "You're 32, Olivia. Time to enter the real world." "The real world?" I repeated, thinking of the 9-figure valuation inked in my name this morning. "Yes," Victoria said sharply, "where success means numbers, not Instagram followers." Right then, every phone at the table lit up. Breaking news, record-breaking fintech acquisition set to be announced at 6 p.m. Sources, the biggest deal in the industry's history. "Well," I said, watching them scramble. "Speaking of numbers, how's Harrison's tech division holding up?" Dad's expression shifted as he read. "We're stable, but this could impact our market share." "Exactly," I said. "This deal will rewrite the industry map. Those who don't adapt vanish." "And how would you know that?" Victoria snapped. "From your Etsy stats?" I rose slowly, smoothing my shirt. "I need to get back. Busy evening." "Sit down," Dad ordered. "We're not done." "Oh, I think we are," I said, grabbing my bag. "The future is about to speak for itself." At the door, my mother called after me. Don't forget about the analyst role. They need an answer tomorrow. I turned slightly and allowed myself a quiet, satisfied smile. I'll be in a board meeting, I said. My board. You're what? Victoria's voice cracked. But I was already gone. By the time the headlines hit, they'd finally understand what I had built, while they wasted years trying to tear it down. They still don't know, do they? Marcus asked, tightening his tie. That you're about to become the youngest woman ever to lead a Fortune 500 company. I thought of Victoria's smug little smile, my mother's polite shame, and my father's smug superiority. They will, I said, turning toward the floor-to-ceiling windows that framed the glittering skyline. In about 5 minutes, their entire story about me gets rewritten. At 5:55 p.m. I stepped into the elevator. Marcus handed me a slim black folder, no speech, no notes, just the truth, and the weight of a revolution. Your sister keeps calling, he noted, something about strange shifts in Harrison Financial stock. I smirked. Tell her to stay tuned, the real shift hasn't even begun. When the elevator doors opened, the lobby was packed, reporters, analysts, flashing cameras, the Genesis Financial logo glowing behind the podium like a seal of judgment. My phone buzzed, a message from Dad. Major activity in fintech. Something's happening. Let's talk about the analyst role. I slid the phone into my pocket without answering. Let him watch. I stepped to the podium, lights flaring. Somewhere, I imagined my family gathered around Victoria's phone, bracing to see who'd just rewritten their legacy. I took a breath and smiled. Good evening, I began, steady and assured. I'm Olivia Harrison, CEO of Genesis Financial Technologies. And just like that, the world changed. The fallout was immediate, explosive. As I wrapped the press conference, unveiling our $8.2 billion acquisition and a pioneering AI platform set to transform modern banking, my phone blew up. 52 missed calls from Dad. 38 from Mom. 67 from Victoria. Hundreds of texts. Back in my office, Marcus brought the live coverage. Headlines: Olivia Harrison, Fintech's rising titan. Genesis AI platform redefines modern banking. Harrison Financial plummets in wake of shocking acquisition. They're panicking, Marcus said, setting down my espresso. Your father's tried getting past security 3 times. Victoria's threatening legal action. I checked the messages. From Dad. This can't be real. Call me now. From Mom. Darling, we're so proud. The country club will be thrilled. From Victoria. You manipulative brat. How long were you planning this? The intercom buzzed. Miss Harrison, my assistant said, the Forbes photographer is here for your cover shoot. I turned back to the city, just as the lights of Harrison Financial HQ blinked into view. Send him up, and Marcus bring today's market data. The numbers were staggering. Genesis stock soared 40%. Our platform was being hailed as a generational leap. Harrison Financial dropped 25% and counting. My private line rang. Elizabeth Chin, editor-in-chief of Forbes. Olivia, she greeted, your story's ready, the silent revolution, how Olivia Harrison built an empire while her family watched from the sidelines. Any quote you'd like to add? I thought of every room where I'd been talked over, every dinner table where they laughed off my business. Just one, I said. Success doesn't need permission, just patience. After the shoot, Marcus returned with updates. 3 major banks want to license our AI, 6 more are requesting meetings. He paused. Victoria's on TV, claiming this was all part of the family strategy. I watched her on screen, poised but cracking. We always believed in Olivia's ideas, she said. We supported her from day one. I hit mute. Send the cease and desist, I said. No one speaks for Genesis but me. Already done. Also, your mom posted 7 times about how you take after her brilliance. I let out a soft laugh. Interesting how quickly they forget they once called it a craft store. A knock. Miss Harrison, my assistant said gently, your father is here, and he brought your grandfather. That stopped me cold. Alexander Harrison Sr., the man who taught me to read stock tickers before I learned algebra. He was the reason I ever loved finance. Send them up, I said quietly. And Marcus's get the acquisition proposal. I stood at the window, still wearing the same white shirt my mother had called underwhelming. Amazing how much it changed when worn by a billionaire. The door opened. Dad entered first. He looked smaller. Then came Grandpa. He smiled faintly, eyes scanning the room. The quiet one, he murmured, always observing. I knew you'd do it one day. Dad turned sharply. You knew? Since she was 12, Grandpa replied, settling into a chair. She corrected my market chart at breakfast. You were too busy praising Victoria's dress. I took my seat behind the desk. Why? Dad asked. Why hide it? I didn't, I said. Everything was public. You just never bothered to look. But your online business was one of 10 entities, I said. I let you see the smallest one. Grandpa chuckled. And now she owns the country club that once rejected her application. Dad's head jerked up. You what? Genesis acquired the holding company last month, and half your precious community. This will ruin Harrison Financial, Dad said quietly. No, I said, sliding the folder across the desk. It'll save it if you're smart enough to merge. He opened it with shaking hands. A partnership? He asked. You keep the name, keep some pride, but you follow our lead. And if we decline? I tapped the screen. Our AI platform glowed to life. Then you compete with tech 4 years ahead of yours. Good luck. Victoria will fight this. She already lost your 3 biggest clients today, I replied. This isn't her decision anymore. Grandpa smiled. Checkmate. I learned from you, I told him. You always said, watch the quiet ones. A knock. Marcus again, more updates. Genesis stock was still climbing. Harrison Financial had just been downgraded again. You have until morning, I told my father. After that, the deal changes. He rose slowly. That analyst job, he said, as if grasping for something. Was insulting then, I said, and irrelevant now. After they left, I returned to the window. The city stretched beneath me, brilliant, sprawling, mine. Because sometimes, revenge doesn't look like a speech. It looks like silence. And success so loud, it speaks for itself. I sipped my coffee, watching the muted interview play out on screen. My sister looked immaculate as always, perfect posture, flawless makeup, but beneath it all, her eyes gave her away. Desperation was hard to disguise when your empire was crumbling. Genesis stock was up another 30% at open. Harrison Financial, down 45%. Their board meets in an hour, Marcus said behind me. They're discussing your merger terms. My phone buzzed. Mom. Darling, the country club is buzzing. I've already been asked to join 3 charity boards. When can we schedule a proper family photo shoot for the society pages? I deleted the message without a second thought. Your grandfather's here, my assistant announced. And he brought some interesting files. Grandpa stepped in, carrying the same worn leather briefcase he'd used when teaching me to read market trends while everyone else was too busy applauding Victoria's tennis trophies. He opened it and laid faded pages on my desk. Your first market model, he said with a smile. 12 years old. You predicted the 2008 crash, months in advance. I ran my fingers over the paper, recognizing my childhood handwriting. You kept this? Every one of your early business plans. Including the AI concept you drafted in college. The one they all laughed at. He nodded. And now it's worth billions. I looked up. Does Dad know you kept these? He never asked. He was always too focused on shaping Victoria into a clone. Grandpa eased into a chair. They're voting soon, he said. Harrison Financial. On your offer. I pulled up the live feed, one of the perks of owning the building's internal systems. Another acquisition they hadn't noticed. Victoria stood at the boardroom table, gesturing wildly. Her lips were easy to read. This is a hostile takeover. We can't let her win. Grandpa nodded toward my phone again. Your mother posted your Forbes cover. Cropped out the part about their lack of support, of course. Old habits, I murmured. Then came the buzz. Miss Harrison, my assistant said. The vote is in. I sat straighter, watching the boardroom feed. The chairman rose. Victoria deflated. Dad stared blankly ahead. They've accepted, my assistant confirmed. Your terms. Full merger. They want a press release to stop the stock bleeding. Grandpa chuckled. Well played. Time to begin, I said, pressing the intercom. Send in the transition team. Marcus, initiate the integration protocol. Within hours, Genesis swept through Harrison Financial's halls. Victoria was escorted out, offered a role, eventually, but only after she learned what real leadership looked like. Dad became chairman emeritus, a title with prestige but no power. I became something more than they'd ever imagined. Over the next month, the transformation was swift and brutal. Our AI platform revived Harrison's outdated systems. Investors surged. Our combined stock soared. And my family? They began adjusting to a new version of Olivia Harrison. Mom stopped matchmaking and started asking about IPOs. Dad stayed quiet. For once, Victoria changed. Gone were the labels, the smirks, the performative superiority. One afternoon, she stepped into my office, humility in her eyes for the first time. I read the AI documentation, she said. It's brilliant. I never understood what you were building before. You never tried, I replied. She nodded. I know. I was too busy trying to be Dad's shadow instead of finding my own shape. I considered her a moment. The junior analyst role, I said. The real one this time. Interested? You'd trust me? No, I said. But you can earn it. Like I did. She stood taller. I'm ready to try. I extended my hand. Welcome to Genesis. Leave your ego at the door. That night, I added my Forbes cover to the wall. Next to it, I framed those childhood market predictions Grandpa had saved. And below them, I placed the simple white shirt I wore the day they tried to write my story for me. My phone buzzed. Marcus, Global Finance Summit keynote confirmed. Topic: the power of being underestimated. I smiled. Fitting. For years, I was talked over, dismissed, ignored. But I never stopped listening. Or building. Their mistake. My legacy. I turned toward the skyline. And I knew this was just the beginning. Because the best revenge isn't being right. It's building something so undeniable, they have no choice but to respect it. Even when they never saw it coming.